On our own crowdfunding journey, we've raised about 4 million through Kickstarter, Indiegogo and BackerKit. We've raised similar amount of money through equity crowdfunding through Seeders. Hi everybody, Derek here from Crua. So, you may have noticed that we've been doing a series of videos recently touching a lot on crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, etc. for new businesses. A few people have asked us to maybe take a step back and say, define exactly what crowdfunding is. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to kind of tell you what crowdfunding is in its current guise, because you know what, crowdfunding has been around literally for centuries. You know, even if you look at for example, the polar explorers of yesteryear, a lot of those expeditions were crowdfunded essentially from different bodies for different reasons, etc. I think in its current guise I'm focusing on here. So 2023, what is crowdfunding and what categories does crowdfunding fall into? Quick one. Before we continue, to find out more about Crua's campaign launches and a little bit more about behind the scenes access, etc., please press this button round about here to find out more and we'll send you more information. Thanks. Okay, so modern crowdfunding, 4 main categories. One is donation-based crowdfunding. A lot of charities use this, or charitable projects, let's say. It's the likes of GoFundMe, DonorBox, Fundly, these kind of charitable or donation-based crowdfunding platforms, and usually for some great causes. That's donation-based crowdfunding for charitable causes. The second type, again, that we don't have a whole lot of experience with, we don't have any experience with actually, would be the peer-to-peer crowdfunding. So this is generally in businesses that have cash, can lend cash to businesses that need cash essentially. So same as a loan, it's repaid over a agreed term, etc. Can be facilitated by platforms such as Linked Finance, and there are loads of peer-to-peer lending. That essentially is crowdfunding as well. It's debt or loan-based crowdfunding. The other two forms of crowdfunding we do have experience, first-hand experience. First one is rewards-based crowdfunding. This is essentially a new product that you put up on a platform like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, BackerKit. By and large, you want to launch this product and people pre-order. So they actually purchase the product. Important to remember, these products are subject to tax. They become deferred revenue in a balance sheet initially, and then they get moved in for a company, get moved into the P&L. It is essentially selling a product on pre-order to a purchaser. From a company and a business point of view, it's important to remember that those products will be subject to tax, to sales tax. And you need to be careful with that because, you know, you can end up basically losing a lot of money through a crowdfunding campaign on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo if you don't actually plan it out properly, if you don't plan out the costs properly, the hidden costs, the obvious costs, etc. Example of rewards-based crowdfunding would be Patreon. So one of the biggest crowdfunding platforms in the world. There are a couple of really big podcasts that use Patreon now. True Crime Obsessed is one of the really big ones. You're Wrong About is another one where they have an enormous of Patreons on the platform, and they taking in 7-figure incomes through Patreon for these podcasts and for this content. A lot of, I suppose, content creators are using Patreon very, very effectively. The fourth category of modern day crowdfunding is equity crowdfunding. So this is essentially where a backer invests in a company. Basically, if you cut it right down, what you're doing is you're investing in a company. This is usually carried on through a platform in the UK, such as Seeders or Crowdcube, in the US, such as platforms such as Republic, Start Engine, and essentially they are equity crowdfunding platforms that give everybody access to investing in startups from very, very little nominal amounts up to, you know, larger investments. Really big example, I suppose, the pioneers, in my opinion, of equity crowdfunding were Brewdog. Their initial Equity for Punks campaign preceded, as we know, modern day regulated equity crowdfunding platforms, but they've had enormous success. I think they've raised something like 60, 70 million pounds in investment to this point through Equity for Punks, as they call it, equity crowdfunding. On our own crowdfunding journey, we've raised about 4 million through Kickstarter, Indiegogo and BackerKit. We've raised similar amount of money through equity crowdfunding through Seeders. This year we're going to be opening that up to a platform in the US, but I think safe to say we have built up a bit of knowledge about crowdfunding. There you have it, the 4 categories of modern day crowdfunding. Hopefully you found it in some way insightful, interesting. If you did, please subscribe, because our next video we're going to talk about how to identify potentially successful crowdfunding campaigns as a creator and as a backer of crowdfunding campaigns. Just a little bit of insight for backers as to how they can, you know, mitigate the risk around crowdfunding and give themselves a better chance of a positive outcome.